Hello, everyone. Happy So What Day. I'm so glad that you're all joining us on this great Tuesday. It is already summertime. We had the first day of summer a couple of days ago, so we're in the thick of it, right? It's been hot as blazes in lots of areas of the country. So I thought it would be a good time to talk about great fabrics to use for our summer makes. So we're going to be talking about oilcloth and laminated cotton. And if you have questions about swimwear fabrics, things like that, please let me know. Also, let's see, my comments don't seem to be working. There we go. Hi, everyone. Be sure to be commenting and giving me those thumbs up so I know that you're with me. Asking your questions in the comment box because I have a great giveaway today, as usual. I will be giving away a pack of Sulky Stitch and Seal. Stitch and Seal is a great product that protects our embroidery and our embellishments from the elements, most importantly from water. So if we're making something waterproof or water resistant, Stitch and Seal is applied to the wrong side of those embellishments to keep up the waterproof or water resistant properties of those fabrics and make sure that nothing gets through all those needle holes that machine embroidery and decorative top stitching and things like that can create. So I'll be going over how to use that product momentarily and a great project that features it. But first and foremost, you all will be kind of the first people to learn about our, if I can get it on screen here, our summer mystery box. Yay! So we have been doing mystery boxes for a while now. They are super popular. They always sell out really quickly. So be sure to head on over to sulky.com and grab your summer mystery box. I happen to have one right here. It's so exciting. So when we did our spring mystery box, I kind of unveiled what was in my box here on So What? And a number of you were kind of upset that I did that because I gave away some things that were in the boxes that you purchased. And, you know, I took away some of that mystery. So let me know in the comments here if you want me to open my box and you can see what I got in my mystery box. Otherwise, I will keep it a secret so that when you get your box, you get to be surprised and, see what threads and notions and fun little gift items we have included to inspire all of your summer makes. And so let me know in the comments if you want me to open it up. I will do so during the episode today. Oh, some people are saying open it. Yes, open it. Okay. All right. Let's open it. Let's open it together. The mystery box is only $29.99 while supplies last. It has a retail value of about $65 worth of product. So it's a really, really great deal. You get tons of fun things. If you are usually a quilter and you only buy Sulky 30 weight cotton, you'll get some more threads to play with and maybe find some new favorites that you didn't know how to use or didn't know that you could incorporate those into your usual thread rotation. So it's a great way to experiment and try something new and find some new favorites that you are sure to love. So, okay, everyone is saying open it up. Pat is wondering, are all the boxes the same? So there might be slight variations between the boxes. So the answer is not necessarily. Some of you may get the same box though. So it's kind of, hey, it's a mystery. All right, so we'll go ahead and open. Cute little packaging. It's all in the packaging, am I right? Let me see if I can get everything in here. Ooh, so first off, there's a little postcard, and mine has a special coupon offer on it for another great deal. So you will all get a great coupon from Sulky that you can use on your next purchase. So that's awesome. All right, I've got a lot of tissue here. Let's see what I've got first. Ooh, okay, so who loves a friction marking pen? These are heat removable marking pens that you can use for all of your creations. And what's awesome about this one is it's a highlighter. So I particularly like these when I am marking on light colored fabrics. Also, if I need to have multiple markings, for example, I'm working on a project that I'm going to showcase for you all. Oh, it's way over there. For you all in a couple of weeks. It's a big applique of a sun, and I needed multiple quilting lines, some going vertically, some going horizontally. So I like to have this highlighter friction pen so I can see the differences between those lines and I don't get confused when I'm doing my quilting or my free motion work. So that's a cute little bonus here. I have lots and lots of thread spools. I'll just tell you that right now. I've got a pack of organ needles, of course. We are the exclusive distributor of these eco packs, and I absolutely love them for storage. This is a Microtex size 7010 needle. This is great for actually the fabrics that we're talking about today. So lighter weight fabrics, silks, chiffons, and some of those coated fabrics like laminated cottons or oilcloth, because it has a really, really sharp, fine point. So you're not going to get a lot of, or you're not going to get any snags or things like that. It's also a 7010, so it's great for those lighter weight threads, such as the Sulky 50 weight cotton that I love to use for all-purpose projects, bags, especially garments too. It's a very, very high quality, long staple thread, really strong for your piecing and quilting projects. And like I said, as well for garment making. All right, so speaking of thread, let's see the types and colors. Speaking of the 50 weight cotton, I got a big spool of the cotton and steel thread by Sulky, which is the 50 weight cotton. We have these on the big spools that have the cotton and steel label on them. And we also have them on snap spools at sulky.com. So if you only want a little bit of thread, or if you're using it in your serger and you want all, 4 threads, you could use the snap spools there as well. But this has a $7.99 value alone. So really awesome that it is included in the mystery box, and a great color for summer. This would go really well, sneak peek, on some of my sun fabric with my sun applique. All right. Ooh, also some neon polydeco. Look how bright that is. Love it. If you've never sewn with these neon thread colors, they are so fun. Again, especially for summer. I like to call them my don't worry, be happy colors. All right. Also, I have a spool of 12 weight filaine, the specialty thread that has a little bit of fuzzy texture to it, kind of like a wool thread, only this is acrylic. And it creates really, really cool thread effects. Can you see the fuzz that is natural? It's supposed to be there. A lot of the times we don't want fuzz with our thread, but in this case, we do. And we can brush it up using the Sulky filaine wire brush and create really cool thread effects, like brush out the stitches along Santa's beard, or brush out the center of a beautiful flower design to make that texture really, really neat and interesting. So I got a spool of that. Also a spool of the Sliver Metallic, which is one of our flat metallic threads. And this is kind of in a rainbow variety, so that's really cool and fun for the summer. I also got a spool of our 40 weight rayon. So like I said, lots of our best sellers included in these boxes, as well as brand new favorites that maybe you haven't gotten a chance to try yet. So beautiful rayon in a lovely color for summer. And then, ooh, love this. One of my favorites, Sulky Invisible Thread. This is the clear variety. I like to use these for sewing on patches, embellishments. I also like to quilt with it. When you want your quilting to kind of disappear and you really want your fabrics to shine rather than the thread, Sulky Invisible Thread. You can use it in the bobbin as well and do an entire quilt done in the invisible thread. All right, I think I might have another thread spool in here, or maybe that's it for thread. And then of course, I got some Sulky stabilizer. Ooh, I got 2 packs of stabilizer. So that's cool. I got some of the Sulky Solvy. This is great for embroidering on towels, beach towels, personalizing a towel set for a grad who's going off to college. That would be a great gift idea. Solvy goes on top of your fabrics when you're doing machine embroidery or other embellishment, when your fabric has a nap or a pile to it, like the terry cloth loops of a towel. That way, your thread will sit on top of the fabric surface rather than sink into that pile. So if you've ever seen a towel embroidered without Solvy topper on it, it's really hard to see that thread work because it's really disappearing into that nap. So Solvy as a topper is really what you need to solve that problem. I also, how appropriate, got a pack of the Stitch and Seal that I will be talking about today. So this is just a little pack of, let's see, 5 4x4 squares. So this is great for a monogram design or a smaller scale design that you've put in a 4x4 hoop, and I will show you how to use it momentarily. And then Sulky always likes to include a couple of little gifties to just get you really excited about your box and to add to, you know, your sewing fun, your sewing enjoyment. All right. So I got, and I absolutely love these. Actually, I already have one, but I'm happy to have another. This is a magnetic pin wand. This is really great for cleaning up your sewing area when you're done with a project and swiping it over your carpet along the floor. A lot of the times we will kind of, our fabric will push some pins onto the floor, which is really unsafe, especially if you're like me and you sew barefoot. Anybody sew barefoot out there? Sometimes. All right. I live barefoot in my studio. So this is really great for just, passing it over your carpet, making sure you get all those pins and needles after a sewing session. These are really, really great tools for that. Plus it has a little holder so you could put it on your cork board or something like that, or just have a dedicated hook for it. You can even put one of those command hooks on the side of your machine and stick that hook there and always have this handy. So to not kind of forget to clean up those pins and needles. Ooh, did this come out of my mystery box or was it along the side? I have so many thread spools on my table, so I may have already gotten confused. At any rate, maybe I got another thread spool. So this is really cute. If you've gotten a mystery box in the past, you may have gotten a little charm for a necklace or a fun little handmade little metal sort of charm that you would sew into a bag or a project. We like to give you something to either dress yourself up or to just display your love of sewing. And this is really cute. It is a chicken flower zipper pull charm. How cute! I absolutely love it. So you could put this on a zipper pull. You could put it on a D-ring on a bag. You could make this into a key ring. So many options for this. You could actually take this off of that little clasp and wear it as a necklace. So lots of little opportunities for that guy. And then I also got a pack of cute little flower head pins. Those flat pins that are great for quilting, but also just pinning all your projects. And these have cute little summery colored flowers on the end. So that's really cute. Nice little notion to include. So I think I got everything out of my box, but that's a lot of stuff. So I'm so excited to dive in and try all of this. And I hope you all grab up a box. They are only available while supplies last. So let me know if you are grabbing one. Everybody loves that magnetic pin wand. I know, it's so great. So, and I mean, all these thread spools, this would add up, you know what I'm saying? But put in your mystery box, and there are lots of inspiration on the Sulky blog for using all of these different threads. If you get a thread spool in your mystery box and you're unsure what to use it for, what needle to pair it with, that type of thing, you can simply search for that thread weight or type or both on the Sulky blog little search bar, and you'll find tons of inspiration for projects and how to use it and things like that. So make sure to grab up your mystery box because, again, they will go fast. I'm actually already getting messages that we are selling through these. So awesome. I hope you guys enjoy. It's really fun, these mystery boxes. I get them from a couple of different companies, and every time I get one in the mail, I'm so excited to see what is inside. Okay. Oh, and yes, a number of people asking about the price. Again, the mystery box is only $29.99. So like I said, it retails, everything inside is about $65. So it's a really, really great deal and something fun to gift yourself this summer. If you have a sewing buddy you need to get a gift for, grab up another mystery box for a friend, and then you can kind of get together and see what you're going to make with everything inside. It's kind of like, Chopped, but for sewing. I love it. You can challenge yourself to make something with everything in that box, and that would be fun. So, all right. Chickens are my thing, Chris says. So grab it, put it in your box, get one today. All right. Judy wants to know, is this a monthly purchase? So we are doing these 4 times a year to go with the seasons. So we've already done a spring box. That one's long sold out. So we do winter, spring, summer, and fall. So right now we've got our summer box. And then in the fall, around September timing, we will have our fall box. So you really need to just, continue watching So What like you're doing. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter list at sulky.com, and then you'll be notified as soon as those mystery boxes are available, and you can be sure to get one. All right. So let's start out by talking about the fabrics for summer. And let's see. I have a sample of some beautiful oilcloth that I found at my fabric store. You may have to go to, I think it's the home decor section to find oilcloth, laminated cottons, coated fabrics. You may have to head over there to the long bolts in order to find them. But oilcloth is one of my favorite fabrics for bag making, for zipper pouches, things like that, because it's so easily cleanable. Plus, it's only coated on the one side, so it allows you to sew it relatively easily. Sometimes when you have a coated fabric, You might need a organ non-stick needle. We have non-stick embroidery needles, but you could use those for other things as well. Sometimes just for top stitching, those needles will work. If you have trouble, you can use a Teflon foot, or sometimes I have heard people putting clear tape on the underside of their presser foot. And if you do that, I really recommend that you cut it carefully so that there's no tape extending beyond the foot that could catch on your fabric. But that will work too if you are having sticking problems. But you're mostly sewing with right sides together, right? So you're mostly sewing from the wrong side of the fabric. And with oilcloth or even a laminated cotton, it's only coated on the one side, like I said. So relatively easy to sew as well. And it comes in really great, fun patterns. A lot of the times you'll hear it or you'll see it advertised as like tablecloth fabrics. But honestly, great for bag making. So I'm going to show you a project that I used oilcloth on, but I've also made it so many different ways with other fabrics as well. This is a laminated cotton. You can find laminated cottons relatively easily on online fabric stores. I don't really find them too often at my local fabric store, but if you are an online fabric shopper, you can find lots of laminated cotton, or independent quilt shops, places like this. They come in designer fabric varieties. This is a Free Spirit print from long, long ago because I developed this project, I think, maybe 8 years ago. I mean, and it's still holding up. I use it every single day. So laminated cotton is another version. I've also done a version of this project using regular cotton fabric, just a quilting cotton fabric, and put fusible vinyl over the top to give it a coating that it didn't already have. So if you're having trouble finding oilcloth or finding the laminated cotton and you want to use a fabric that you already have in your stash, you can grab up a fusible vinyl and follow the directions on the pack, fuse it to your fabric right side, and then you have your coated fabric. All right, so speaking of the project, it started out as a makeup brush holder. So it is simply 2 rectangles that you sew together, and then you fold up the bottom half and stitch down pockets so you can hold your makeup brushes in it. Then on this one, I have a little bit or a little dot of Velcro, and you simply fold it over, stick your Velcro shut, roll up your makeup bag, and then your little ties keep it closed. So it started out for makeup brushes because mine were always getting mixed in with my makeup, and I just really wanted something that was washable, right? So this laminated cotton, if your brushes still have a bit of makeup on them when you put them away, you can simply take a soapy cloth and just wash it off. You don't have to worry about that staining your cotton fabric or not lasting. Like I said, I think I've had this for about 8 years. So it really stands the test of time. So then I wanted to do another version using that fusible vinyl over some cotton fabric that I loved. And that version is at sulky.com on the blog. And I featured I did it with a serger. Okay. So lots of different variations on this project. Then I thought, when I found that great oilcloth, I wanted a roll-up project or an organizer, whatever we want to call this, that would hold all of the little tubes of sunscreen and chapstick and sanitizer sprays that I now have to take to the pool and beach and all of those places for my kids. So I thought all I needed to do was create basically the same project, make my rectangles a little bit larger, and then make my pockets a little bit larger. Same exact method, but a new twist on the project. So that is a new blog post that we posted the other day, and I'm going to go through it with you here. So here is my oilcloth version of that same exact project, and it's got larger pockets to hold my little sunscreen tubes and things like that. Plus, of course, I had to add some machine embroidery to it. So when you're embroidering on oilcloth, like I mentioned before with the stitch and seal, we want to continue or keep those water resistant properties, keeping the sand and water out of our project. And you know, when I go and throw this into our beach bag, it's going to, it's going to undergo some stress, let's say. It's going to probably meet a juice box or a water bottle or some sand, that type of thing. So I want to retain the properties of the fabric, so I added the stitch and seal to the wrong side of the embroidery, and I will show you how that works now. So first of all, we have to embroider the fabric. And I do want to mention that all the how-tos for this project are available on the Sulky blog. I linked to that blog post in the description of today's post, along with all of the products I will be talking about today. So you can hit that little see more button so you see the entire post, and then you'll find the link to head on over to the blog and get all the instructions, all the dimensions you need to cut for this project are there. All right, so first we need to embroider the oilcloth. Now, when you're embroidering on a print, you want to choose a design that doesn't necessarily compete with the print. So in hindsight, my design, and I'll go back to it here, my design is a little bit difficult to see. Maybe I've been staring at it for too long. I can definitely see that it is the letter K, and this is a design from, I believe it's Urban Threads, and it is linked in the blog. So if you love this design, you can get the letter of your choice by heading on over to the blog and grabbing up the design collection. But anyway, it doesn't really pop off of the fabric. So in hindsight, I probably should have gone with a design that had a little bit more fill stitch to it so that it would really pop off of that really cute fabric print. But instead, I chose this outline style design. And in person, it's a little easier to see than it is in the photographs. But I just wanted to mention design choice is kind of important when you're working with a print. So keep that in mind. Okay, so back to embroidering on oilcloth or other coated fabrics like the ones I had mentioned. So you don't want to hoop these fabrics. These fabrics are delicate and they will either suffer from hoop burn, meaning the hoop will actually sort of indent the fabric to a point that's not recoverable. Or you can get a little bit of shine around the fabric or on the fabric where the hoop was because it's holding it so tightly for the duration of the embroidery. So instead, we want to do what I call hoopless embroidery, meaning we are only hooping our stabilizer and then we're adding the fabric to it. So I like to use Sulky Sticky Plus for the most part. I can make pretty much any stabilizer into a sticky stabilizer for this method. So if you prefer to use Tear Easy, a little bit lighter stabilizer, you can make it sticky by adding Sulky KK2000 temporary spray adhesive to your stabilizer once you've put it in the hoop. But I just prefer to get a stabilizer that already has that sticky backing to it and stick my fabric right to it. So embroidery placement, figure out where you want your embroidery, mark your center cross marks, and then hoop it by placing it over your hooped stabilizer. And again, the directions for doing so are all in the blog post. So you will see how to use that Sticky Plus. I've gone over it a number of times in Sew What, but if you're new to Sew What, you can get the entire tutorial on the Sulky blog. So it's just as simple as beginning your embroidery. Now again, I used an outline design, as you can see here. So my fabric print is actually showing through that design. If you prefer to have more visibility on your thread work, choose a design that has a little bit more fill stitches to it. Okay. So here is my finished design, my letter, or you can choose to do a monogram, and it embroiders absolutely beautifully. The great thing about oilcloth is with that coating, you actually have sort of a built-in stabilizer on the top of your fabric. So there's no puckering, no shifting of that fabric. Your design looks beautiful every single time. So here's the back of my work. Once your embroidery is complete, you will remove your hoop from your machine, remove the stabilizer from the hoop, and Sticky Plus is a tearaway stabilizer variety. So simply tear it away beyond the perimeter of your design on those outermost stitches. I don't bother to go in with a tweezer and pick out all the little pieces in between my very open work machine embroidery design because the oilcloth is sort of a heavier weight fabric. So having the additional stabilizer still intact in all of those little pieces does not affect the hand or the drape of that fabric. So I just leave the rest of it completely intact. And now it is time to apply the stitch and seal. Now it's very important to note that these coated fabrics do not take to heat very well. You don't want to iron oilcloth. You also don't want to pin it. There's a number of things you don't want to do when you're dealing with oilcloth. And again, I mentioned all of those in the blog post. But it is not very heat tolerant, just like laminated cotton is not very heat tolerant. If you've added a fusible vinyl to an existing cotton fabric, that is a little bit more heat tolerant than these other fabrics that have sort of a commercial coating to them, I'll say, because of the fact it's already a fusible product and you have to apply heat in order to add it, right? But when you're working with oilcloth or a traditional laminated cotton, you need to be very careful when you're adding your stitch and seal because it's a fusible product that is permanent. You need heat in order to apply it. So, like I mentioned before, the coating is on the right side of the fabric, not the wrong side of the fabric. But the heat is still going to transfer through a little bit to the right side. So what I did was I used a pressing sheet or a pressing mat, sometimes they are called, to fuse the stitch and seal to the wrong side of my embroidery. Very important to do this so that you don't get a shine or you don't melt a little bit of that coating on the fabric right side. You want to use a pretty moderate heat iron setting in order to do this. And the stitch and seal is very sensitive. It's going to adhere with even the slightest amount of heat from your iron. So if you are concerned about the setting of your iron or you're not sure if it's low enough, I highly suggest doing a test on a little scrap fabric. Just put your scrap fabric face down, put your pressing sheet on top, give it a little bit of tiny bit of heat from your iron, and then turn it over to see, how it's reacting. Okay. Definitely do that before you do your finished project. So here I have my stitch and seal adhered to the back side of my embroidery. I cut it a little bit larger than the embroidery itself, which also kind of stabilizes the flap of my project. And then it's just a matter of adding your ties and then creating your pocket and determining where you want your pocket seams to go, how wide you want your pockets. You can see on here I have one really wide pocket because I wanted to fit one of those spray sunscreens in that pocket. And then I have a few smaller pockets that I can use for my, my sanitizer spray, a couple of chapsticks, and then a face sunscreen stick. That's kind of my go-to when I'm headed to the pool or the lake with my kids. So what I suggest is before you stitch those pockets in place, once you have folded up the main pocket and sewn along your side seams, place your items where you would put them in your roll-up, and then give yourself a little bit of room on either side so that it will fit into the pocket. Mark those locations and then sew up your pockets. And then here's a picture of my beautiful finished embroidery. Like I said, I actually like the look of that where you can see the print underneath the letter that I chose. But again, if you want a little bit more visibility of your design, choose something with a little bit more fill stitch to it. And then there it is all rolled up, and I've got my sunscreen inside. So if you want to have a bunch of those spray bottles, they are going to take up more room. So just keep that in mind. You might want to start off with a larger, even larger rectangle than I used in order to accommodate sunscreens and things like that. But it's really great for brushes or, you know, eyeliners, lip liners, makeup, all that kind of stuff. And this makes a really great gift idea as well. So on the sunscreen roll up, I didn't add a little closure, a little Velcro dot, because those tubes, you know, are a little bit bulkier than, let's say, all of my makeup brushes. So I just actually didn't even really think I needed it. So I will say the oil cloth is a little stiffer than the laminated cotton. So when you're rolling it up, it's going to feel a little bit stiffer at first, but it will kind of relax a little bit over time as well. So, all right. Everyone's saying, love the oilcloth. All right. I hope you all make this project. It's a very popular project. I've shown it in a lot of different places. And like I said, I have 2 different versions of it on the Sulky blog. So I think you'll really enjoy making it. It's a super simple sew. If you don't add embroidery, you could probably make this in an hour or less, honestly. So it's a great, quick project for summer. Okay, so speaking of laminated cotton, I'm going to go over another project that we have at sulky.com on our free projects page. It features laminated cotton on the inside and a nice sturdy canvas fabric on the outside. Laminated cotton or even oilcloth makes a great lining for bags, for laundry totes. Speaking of, you know, sending a grad off with a gift of monogram towels when they're going to the dorm or their first apartment. It's another great idea to make a large laundry tote. That's kind of what this project started out as, was a large scale laundry tote. And I'll show you a finished picture of it here with a nice big monogram to it. This would go along with a towel set really nicely for a grad. You can see just how tall and large this tote really is. And it has a nice structured bottom to it, some faux leather handles. So this is great for, you know, a student of any gender. You can make this, you know, for a guy or girl. I know it's kind of hard to think for projects to make for the men in our lives. So this is a really great one. You can use it as a laundry tote, but it's also quite large to hold sporting equipment, even if you're just storing it in the corner of your room, or it's a great beach tote. You could change up the fabrics and make it really fun for summer. And it holds probably 5 or 6 towels, all of your beach gear. It's quite a large tote. Now, if you don't want a tote that's this large, you could cut it in half, honestly, in half, and create a really nice structured tote bag using the same exact methods that I wrote into the pattern that's available on the Sulky website. So I'm going to go over the how-tos of this bag for you. And again, it's using this really great laminated cotton. This is actually a combination of all of the products that I used to create this tote. So that whale fabric is a really, really great laminated cotton. And I found it at sallytomato.com. It's also available. I've seen it in different variations with, I believe, dolphins on it. But these are really great quality fabrics. So I got a 1 yard cut. I got a 1 yard cut of really nice canvas from Sally Tomato. It's a Robert Kaufman canvas. Great quality, gives great structure to the bag. And then I used a fusible foam stabilizer to make the bag, to make it able to stand up on its own. So if you do have it in the corner of your room and you're storing all of your sporting equipment in it, or if you are using it open as a laundry bag, this will give it great, great structure. I also used Sulky Stiffy for the embroidery. Stiffy is a heavier weight tearaway stabilizer, so great for things like canvas. And I'll show you how that goes in just a minute. I also used the KK2000 and then Sulky Poly Deco Thread. That was my choice for construction as well as embroidery for this project. And then you can see I have my trusty Clover Wonder clips. And then I also added a few professional finishes to this bag to really kind of kick it up a notch. I've got the faux leather handles, and what's really cool about that is you can buy faux leather at Sally Tomato by the inch. So you can say, I just want 2 inches of the faux leather, and then you can cut your strips for your handles out of your 2-inch by width of fabric piece. So it makes it a little bit more affordable to grab up those higher quality faux leathers. Then I also got a pack of rivets. I used the gunmetal, but Sally Tomato has silver, gold, gunmetal, rose gold, so lots of options. And then I also used a magnetic bar. That allows us to close up this tote to, haul it to the laundromat or take it to the beach with us. So the cool thing about using that laminated cotton for the lining is that it's easily washable and wipeable. You wouldn't really want to throw this entire project straight into the washing machine because of that foam interlining and your faux leather handles and all of these great professional finishes. So by adding laminated cotton to the inside, let's say, your kids throw something damp in there and you've got a funk going on. You just remove the offensive items and then wipe it clean with a soapy washcloth, dry it really nicely, and it's good to go. So again, I like to use these coated fabrics for bag linings of all sizes, not just a large scale laundry tote or, beach bag, but for lots of different bags. So it's a great idea to just use that fabric for other multi-purpose totes, travel bags, things like that. All right, so after compiling all of these supplies, we're going to cut our lining, our canvas, and our foam, fusible foam. So I like to use a rotary cutter when I'm cutting laminated or coated fabrics. It's just easier to get a more accurate cut that way. All right, so embroidery comes first. We're going to embroider the canvas so that we have our nice large scale monogram. And that monogram that I showed is from our friends at Designs by Juju. I absolutely love Designs by Juju, and it's pretty much my go-to site when I'm looking for a lettering design because she has so many fonts, so many monograms, and they're beautifully digitized. They sew out perfect every single time. So that's where I found the monogram that I chose. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute. But first, we're going to load our chosen monogram so we know what hoop size we need and put our Sulky Stiffy Stabilizer in the hoop. This is another case of hoopless embroidery. I didn't want to hoop that canvas because it's a little heavier weight and I didn't want to get any hoop burn on my nice luxurious canvas fabric. So I'm hooping the Sulky Stiffy and then I am making it sticky with the addition of the temporary spray adhesive. So you simply spray inside your inner hoop ring and then you can stick your canvas in place where you need it. I talk about placement for the embroidery and all kinds of tips for working with monogram designs in the free project that you can grab at sulky.com. So here I have my canvas adhered to that stiffy stabilizer and I just begin the design. Now, here is, the outline. I used a really pretty silvery gray poly deco thread for this. So here's my finished monogram. Now, I want to mention there are all kinds of schools of thought for how to assemble a monogram. You can do the first letter of the last name in the middle with the first letter of the first name and first letter of the middle name on either side of that letter. That's a pretty traditional way to do a monogram. Or, like in this case, you can use first letter of first name, first letter of last name, and there you go. This monogram comes in a lot of different sizes, so you have the flexibility of doing that, larger last name and smaller first and middle name. Now, I will say for this monogram, the recipient's middle initial starts with a J. When I put the J into the software, into my machine screen, because I built this entirely on my machine screen, no software needed. Although I will say software does make things a little easier. When I put the J next to the M on that little bit smaller scale, it just didn't look right. The J was so much narrower than the D and the M that it looked bizarre as a monogram. So I just said, I'm not going to add the middle initial. I will just do the first initial and the last initial, and it will be beautiful. So each letter is flanked by these little diamonds. So that means when I brought both letters onto my machine screen, I had two diamonds overlapping each other on the center. I wanted to show how to use this without using software. Now, if I was using software, I would simply go in, I would delete the diamond next to the D and bring the D closer to the M, using the M diamond to align my letters, and then I would export that as a single design to stitch out on my machine. But if you don't have software, you can bring both letters in, and if you have overlapping elements like that, they're really handy for perfect placement. So I kept them in, but when my machine wanted to sew that area of the D, I skipped all those stitches and went right to the M, thereby only stitching one diamond design along the center. So hopefully that makes sense. Give me a thumbs up. Tried to explain it well for you, but just be aware that as you are combining elements using different monogram designs, you may have overlapping elements. And if you don't have software, that's an easy way to kind of fix that problem, is to just be aware and definitely don't leave your machine while it is stitching out so that you can skip those portions of the design. All right, once your design is complete, you will remove your stabilizer from the hoop and gently tear away the remaining Sulky Stiffy beyond your design. And again, just like I did with that sunscreen roll up, I left some of the stabilizer intact. The little strips that are inside of those letter elements, I did not bother going in and removing all of that stabilizer. It's actually going to make my monogram look really beautiful over time. It's going to, remain nice and prominent on the bag. So I just left that in there. Again, I'm using a heavier weight canvas, so it's not going to affect the hand of my fabric to have a little bit of that stabilizer remaining. Okay, so I wanted to mention now, what I did for the closure was a combination of that magnetic bar, again, available at Sally Tomato, and my faux leather handles. So in order to insert that metal bar, I created a little facing strip along the inside of the tote. That way I could insert the metal bar into canvas rather than laminated cotton, and it would have another kind of professional detail to it. So these metal bars come encased in this plastic sheeting stuff. You want to sew through that plastic, getting as close as you can to that metal bar without your needle hitting it. So as you can see here, I'm using a zipper foot in order to do that. And then I moved my needle position all the way to the left so I could get pretty darn close to that magnet. Now, another thing worth mentioning here is when you're working with magnets and things like that, they want to stick to your machine throat plate. So gently lift up or put your hands under the opposite edge of the magnet that you're sewing so that it doesn't want to stick to that throat plate, because what will happen is you'll continue sewing, not realizing that your magnet is slowly shifting because it is sticking to the throat plate. So just lift it up as you go along, move it around, pivot at your corners, continue lifting up that side of the magnet. Be sure your fingertips are well far away from that needle so that you don't prick yourself or accidentally sew over your finger. I'm telling you from experience. All right. Here is the finished sewn magnetic bar. So after you sew around the perimeter of that, you will trim away that plastic close to your stitching so that you don't have that excess bulk to deal with. And then from the right side, you will just have a nice little top stitched rectangle that you will see. And that's your little facing piece that you will stitch to the top of the laminated cotton. And then you will sew that to your outer bag. So here I am adding the facing piece to my laminated cotton, and then I press my seam allowances toward the facing and do a little bit of top stitch to make sure everything is nice and flat. Okay, so now we're going to box the corners of our outer pieces as well as our lining pieces. Boxing the corners is what is going to give it the dimension so that it will stand up on its own. So you'll box the corners of that canvas piece, which has the fusible foam already fused to it. And then you will also box the corners of your laminated cotton. If you have never heard of the technique of boxing corners, we have an awesome free webinar about boxing corners and adding structure to bags. It's at our education platform, which is sewingonline.sulky.com. The great people at Sew for Home did this webinar with us, and they go over all kinds of tips for how to box corners using your rulers and rotary cutters. And this is a really large boxed corner because, like I mentioned, this tote stands, it's hard to show you. I'll show you in the pictures, but this tote stands really proud and tall. So the boxing of the corners, the adding of that structure is really necessary, having this big boxed corner at the bottom. Now keep in mind, the larger your corners are that you're boxing, the smaller your bottom's going to be. This bottom almost looks round when you're done, when it's standing up. But again, the top is going to go out a little bit. because you are, basically cinching in the bottom there. Okay, so once you cut out your corner, you match up your lower edge seam allowance with your side seam allowance. Those two seams will be touching, and then use wonder clips to secure that and then sew across that join. I explained all about not using pins with oilcloth, laminated cottons, coated fabrics in the blog post, but in short, they're just going to create a permanent hole. So if you must use pins, pin only within the seam allowance, and that way you won't see those holes when your project is complete. So here is the bottom of my bag, the lining portion of the bag with those big boxed corners. And then here is the canvas with that fusible foam applied, and we're boxing those corners. So again, we're using wonder clips because with that foam attached, it becomes really bulky, too bulky for you to use pins to secure those boxed corners. And fusible foam comes in white as well as black. Now, I haven't been able to find black at my corner fabric store, I'll call it, but it's really not in the corner. I have to drive quite a ways to get there, as many of you do, I'm sure. But Sally Tomato carries this black color, which if you're using a darker fabric, I suggest using a darker foam. All right, and again, this is just a close-up of boxing those corners. I have a Teflon presser foot attached just in case for when I'm doing the top stitching and, using the laminated cotton. Okay, showing a lot of pictures today, so I'm just getting organized a little bit here. So here is the bag. You can see already standing on its own, I have my laminated cotton with the facing attached. That is right side facing the right side of the canvas bag. I literally built this part while it was standing on its own on my floor. You could see it's about as tall as my serger cabinet. So again, if you don't want a bag that's this tall, simply cut the measurements in half and make a tote bag that you can carry over your shoulder, and it'll still be quite large. So I am now using my wonder clips to clip the upper edge of my lining to the upper edge of my outer fabric. And I almost forgot to mention, you do need an opening in your lining so that you can turn this whole thing right side out. So, and you need a rather large opening because of the fact that you have these heavier weight fabrics, you have that foam, and you just really need to be able to get in there. So along one of those side seams, when you're sewing your lining rectangles, you will leave an opening for turning. All right, so then you sew along your upper edge, and now we are making our bag, our lining and our outer into one. And when you go across that magnetic bar, again, be mindful that it might want to stick to your throat plate. It's a very strong magnet, so you may need to lift it up again as you're sewing that upper edge. Okay, so then we turn it right side out through that opening in the lining, and we stuff our lining into the outer bag, and then I kind of rolled the edge. It's called favoring the edge, to kind of roll your facing inside the bag a little bit. And also, and this is all in the free project PDF that you can print. It's all in the instructions, but I used a different seam allowance for the lining so that it would fit nice and snug inside that outer bag. All right, so you kind of favor the edge, use your wonder clips to clip around, and then you'll do your final top stitching for the bag. Isn't that nice? We've got our nice magnetic snap that's going to really secure all of the contents inside, or it stands open quite nicely as well. So now we need to add our handles. And I'm seeing a few questions coming in So, and I'm sorry, I haven't been ignoring them. I've just been engrossed in my own tutorial, trying not to get lost. So, okay, Susan wants to know, how do you get to the webinar on doing boxed corners? So you will head to our education site, which is sewingonline.sulky.com. It is different from our e-commerce site, which is just sulky.com. So our education site is an entirely different website. You need to create an account, which you just need your email address and a password. And then you can start adding things to your own personal library from there. You will navigate to our legacy webinars, and you will find one that is, I believe it's called Boxed Corners and More, or something similar to that. So you can try searching Boxed Corners and you'll find that webinar. Okay. Let's see. Lots of people saying Wonder Clips, love it. We do have 2 different sizes of Wonder Clips at sulky.com. So we've got I just call them kind of the standard size, which I like to use for quilt bindings and for projects like this. And then we also have a big 50 pack of these little narrower ones, which are really great for mitering corners, or when you're clipping little smaller items. But I kind of use a combination of them. I use whichever ones are closest to me, but we've got 2 sizes at sulky.com now. Okay. Hopefully I am keeping up with the questions. Again, keep your questions coming. We are in there answering them. If you don't get your question answered today, you can also send your questions to info@sulky.com. We're always here for you and want to make sure you have the best experience with Sulky products and projects. So be sure to take advantage of those resources. All right. Deb wants to know, where are the handles? Great segue. Thank you for keeping me on my toes. Let's do the handles. All right. So the handles are made out of really great faux leather. And again, I also got this at Sally Tomato. So this really should be a collaborative project with Sally Tomato. We love working with them. Their materials are really the best. So like I said, you can purchase this faux leather in inch increments. So you don't have to get a bunch of yardage if you're just going to use faux leather for the handles. So you'll take your faux leather, fold it in half lengthwise with wrong sides together. Faux leather is not going to fray, and these handles are too small to really turn them right side out. So we are just going to have a raw edge along one side and then also sew along the other edge, folded edge, to make sure everything looks nice and neat. Again, using those Wonder Clips because we cannot pin through faux leather. So once you've created your strap, you will clip them in place on the bag. I just got the center of my upper edge, and then I moved either end of the straps equidistantly and then used my Wonder Clips again to clip them in place onto the bag. Now I'm using rivets to hold these in place. I think it gives a really cool, professional looking finish, and it's super durable. Something like this where you're making a huge bag, you don't want your straps to fail. Because even with strong stitching and strong thread, over time and with just the stress of handling your bag, the stitching could come free. So by using really strong rivets, that is going to secure it, for a long, long time. So in order to use those rivets, Sally Tomato has a great tutorial for using their rivets. If you just go to sallytomato.com, you can view their YouTube on how to use it. But there's also a really cool tool, and I thought I had it next to me. I showed an image of it at the top. I do have it next to me. So this is a hole punch. You can use it for rivets. You can use it for making belts. You can use it even as like a marking placement sometimes. But these will create holes in your canvas, your foam interlining, your faux leather, and this is 2 layers of faux leather. I went through all of those layers with one press of this hole punch. So it also has, varying sizes, so you can move this through if you are working on, a different size rivet or a different size project. So this is a really great tool for this. However, you could also use like an awl. Just be sure to have a piece of wood or something underneath all of those layers when you are punching your holes for your rivets. So here I have punched my holes and I am ready to attach those. You will just follow the instructions on the Sally Tomato site, or if you purchase rivets at your fabric store, a lot of the times those will come with instructions as well. You also need a rivet setting tool. It's this little silver kind of tube looking thing with a little circular sort of, dome shaped thing. I don't really know what to call it. It's just a rivet setting tool. And you need that as well. You will put your little circle underneath your fabric and the tube thing on top of the rivet. It fits the little kind of dome shape of your rivet quite nicely. And then you give it a tap with your hammer and they all come together. And it's super easy to use. But again, don't use this on your cutting mat. Get a wood block or something like that. Do it outside on the concrete so that you don't damage any of your surfaces while you are setting those rivets. So I have my rivets all set, my handles are attached, and this is what it looks like closed. So the magnets just come together and you can go toting it. If you want longer straps, you can certainly choose the length that you want for your tote as well. If you go with a longer strap, I would do a wider handle as well. So instead of your 2 inches of faux leather, maybe get 4 or even 6. That would give you a nice decorative, sturdier handle to tote around your items. And here it is open. So you can have it open, use it as a laundry tote, and then close it when you need to take your laundry, downstairs or to the laundromat, things like that. So again, this makes a really great gift for somebody who is headed out on their own for the first time. Or if you want to make a beach tote, you can find really fun laminated cottons in all kinds of beachy fun prints. And you can put that on your lining and then add a colorful canvas fabric to the outside. And again, change up your embroidery design. If you don't want a monogram, put a really beautiful octopus or something like that, to go along with your beach theme. So I hope you all have fun with these 2 projects. They are fantastic projects as we splash into summer and head out to, beaches and lakes and pools. And, with the world kind of starting to open up again, I'm so glad that that is an option for people. So, all right. I'm going to go through the questions here. Again, if you are commenting, liking, sharing this post, or engaging in some way, you are eligible for today's gift. Today's little gifty or door prize is a pack of Sulky Stitch and Seal. I got some with my mystery box. It's great for securing and protecting the wrong side of your embellishments, or actually the right side of your embellishments, by keeping all of those needle holes, needle penetrations free from dirt, dust, debris, water, all of that good stuff. So be sure to be commenting, liking, and sharing and all those good things. And I will go through the comments. If you have any questions about working with coated fabrics, any questions about the products or projects I talked to you about today, put them in the comments. We will go through them here. And then I get to share with you a little bit about our next video cast. So you may have noticed this cute project right here and wondering, why am I displaying December in the middle of June? Did any of you notice that? I thought for sure someone was going to say, you have the wrong calendar up, Ellen. What's going on? All right, lots of you loving the multi-purpose bag. Be sure to grab that free project. So if you go to sulky.com, head on to the free project page. All you need to do is put in your email and you'll be able to download the full instructions and pattern for that bag. All right, so Debbie noticed that I am displaying a December calendar behind me, and that is because our July video cast is welcoming Christmas in July. So this project is kind of our first foray into getting ready for Christmas decor, and it is a cross-stitch countdown calendar. Now, I will be showing how to do this using our embroidery machine. So we will be doing all this beautiful cross-stitch in a mere fraction of the time that it takes to do this whole cross-stitch design by hand. However, if you don't have an embroidery machine, I will also show you how to do it by hand using the same exact kit and the same exact process. So it's great for anyone of any skill level with any kind of equipment that you have, whether you like to do handwork or machine embroidery. It also features some great quilting and piecing techniques. I will show you how to inset a circle into a pieced border, which gives a lot of people some challenges. So I'll give you some tips and tricks and show you how to do that on camera in real time. So that is the benefit of doing one of our video casts versus, let's say, a free webcast where we don't show you the hands-on sewing. So join this video cast. You can register for it now. It is July 13th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be your instructor for this great project, and I will go over it in the next couple of weeks, giving you a little bit more insight into this. But the kit is available now, so if you're grabbing up your mystery box and you want to get to that free shipping threshold, I highly suggest get a mystery box and get a countdown to Christmas video cast kit, and then you will be on your way to free shipping. Plus, you'll be ready to go when we go live on July 13th. So a great idea to grab both while you can. All right. Pat, you're welcome. Thanks for letting us know that you love them. Nyla wants to know, what needle do you use for the coated fabric? So I used a top stitch needle for my embroidery as well as for the construction of that multi-purpose bag. The top stitch needle went through all of those layers, the canvas, the foam, the laminated cotton, just beautifully. So I used a top stitch needle for that. A top stitch needle is kind of my go-to needle for a lot of projects. But again, we also have the non-stick embroidery needles. If you find that your needle is kind of struggling through an oilcloth, maybe you've gotten a heavier weight oilcloth, or maybe you've gotten kind of a tablecloth fabric that has that fuzzy lining to it, those sometimes are a little bit stickier. Also, that fusible vinyl can be a little bit stickier than, let's say, the laminated cotton. So you might want to grab a pack of those as well for the embroidery. If you're hearing kind of a clicking noise when your needle is going through the fabric, that means it is sticking a little bit. The other thing you can try is, and we have this at sulky.com, a little bit of Sewer's Aid. Sewer's Aid is a water-based lubricant that you can actually put a tiny little dot onto your needle and it will last through like an entire stitch out. Now, if you're doing a stitch out that has a huge stitch count, you may need to apply it a couple of times, but you just put a little bit on your finger and run it across the needle. It also makes it really easy to thread. And I also learned this tip from the great Sue Hausman. She always said, you know how a lot of people will take their spit. Sorry, I don't really know how to sugarcoat that, but they'll take their spit and kind of run it across the end of the thread and then try to thread their needle that way to make it a little easier. Well, Sue taught me instead of doing that, you want to actually moisten the needle hole, and then your thread goes right through it. So another great use for that sewer's aid, you know, if you don't want to use your spit or you're finding that that's not working, the sewer's aid, you know, it's not oil based, so it's not going to put a dot or a spot onto your fabric or thread. It's water based and it will just wash out. So this is a really great product, inexpensive. This bottle will last you a long time because you only need a little dot, for certain applications. All right, lots of people ordering their mystery box. That's awesome. Get them while you can. Friends at Sulky, let me know how we're doing, if we still have some available. I hope so. Okay. All right. Angela is asking, what is coated cotton? So the coated cotton I'm talking about today is really known as laminated cotton. It has a coating to it that makes it really easily cleanable. And it's really fun for bags, beach totes, this makeup brush holder that I went over at the top of today's episode. So if you've never used these fun fabrics, go check them out, seek them out. A lot of places have them. Fabric.com, independent quilt shops. Sally Tomato has a number of great prints. They come in really fun prints, and I think you'll like them a lot. All right. Kathy says, so great to learn about coated fabrics. Yeah, it's really fun to try something new. And like I said, these fabrics are great for summer items, summer projects. Oh, Pam, good point. How did you close the opening for turning the bag right side out? So after I turned the bag right side out, before I push the lining into the outer bag, you do need to close up that opening. And honestly, I used my Wonder Clips to make sure that my seam allowance was pointing inward, and then I just top stitched it on the machine. Really, really, or edge stitch, I guess you would say. Close to the edge, back stitching at the beginning and end, and then pushed that into my bag. You could hand sew it if you want. Hand sewing is a little bit trickier with these coated fabrics, but if you want a more invisible seam, you could certainly try that as well with a slip stitch or a ladder stitch, and make sure you have really strong knots at either end so that that doesn't come apart over time, because this bag is going to get a lot of wear and tear. So that's a good idea. Carol says, how do you know where to place your embroidery on the canvas? In the full tutorial on the free projects page, I will give all of the how-tos for how to determine your placement to get your monogram centered. I like to put it near the top of the bag, but I do like a bit of margin, underneath that facing piece that is in on the lining. So here's where I placed mine, and I give the dimensions of where I centered mine. I also give the dimensions of the monogram size that I chose, but you could really even go smaller. You could do a full name on your machine screen. So the personalization options are just about endless with this project. Cheryl is asking, could you use outdoor fabric for totes? Absolutely. You can even pair that outdoor fabric. Sometimes it's like some sunbrella fabric That's just a even thicker canvas with an even tighter weave to it. And I think some of those actually have a coating on them as well. So just be mindful of the care instructions for the fabrics that you're choosing. Whether or not they're going to tolerate heat from an iron can be very important as you're working through the construction of bags, totes, of everything. So just be aware of how heat tolerant they are, how they are cared for, how to machine wash them if you need to machine wash them. Like I said, this tote, I'm never going to throw this tote in the washing machine. It has too many elements to it that just are not going to withstand the spinning and the agitation of the washing machine, which is why I lined it with that laminated cotton so that I could spot clean the outside and then wipe clean or even add a soapy washcloth to the inside without damaging it. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for your thanks and your praises. I really appreciate that. Again, if you do not have your mystery box yet, be sure to add it to your cart because I know these are going to go fast. Every time we release one, they're sold out within the day. More questions coming in. Marcia wants to know, how long is the countdown to Christmas video cast? So the video cast is approximately 90 minutes. I am the instructor, so I will likely go long because I have a tendency to just keep talking like I'm doing today. So, but it's about an hour and a half. If you can't join for the entire time, you can always go back and finish the remainder because after we go live, it's always available to watch on demand at any time. It is stored in your library. You can go back and watch the videos. You can rewind, fast forward, pause, get all the information that you may have missed during the live. And the cool thing about our video casts is that everyone who registers is eligible for the great door prizes, not just those who are watching live. When we do our free webcasts, you have to be watching live to be in the mix for the door prizes. But for the video casts, no matter what, if you watch live or on demand, you are in the running for those great, great prizes that we give away. And for video casts, we give away 4 door prizes, not just the 2. So there's lots more chances to win as well. Do you need to buy the kit for the December calendar embroidery design? Yes, the embroidery design is included with the purchase of the kit. The kit is at an amazing price, kind of just like our, let's see, let me pull it up here. Just like our mystery box. I honestly cannot believe these prices that we are able to extend. Just going to look it up so I don't misspeak. So the Christmas Countdown Calendar Kit is only $39.99. You get all of these great art gallery fabrics. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spools of thread. You get stabilizer. You get a little magnet because I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little magnet right there with a little embroidered snowflake on it. And that is what moves across the calendar as you count down the days. So you get this really cool, extra strong magnet as well. And it's a great, great deal. Only $39.99 for that kit. Includes the large scale countdown to Christmas embroidery design in 2 different sizes. So if you don't have the extra large hoop that I will be demoing on, you can use a little bit smaller hoop to create your design. And like I mentioned, you can also use the very same kit to do the handwork version of the cross stitch. With purchase of your video cast, though, you will get the pattern to create the circle quilt. So that's your freebie with purchase of your video cast. So you can make this with different designs as the center focal point. You can use a really beautiful large scale machine embroidery design and maybe make one for spring and use it kind of like a wreath on your front door. So there are lots of personalization options, again, for using that base pattern that I'll be demoing during the video cast as well. All right. So again, thank you all for tuning in today and always on Sew What. One lucky viewer today who is commenting, liking, sharing, all of those good things could win a pack of Sulky Stitch and Seal. I will pick the winner tomorrow to give lots of people a chance to be considered for that great little gift. And join me next week for another edition of Sew What. I will be going over a great quilting project that I'm super excited to share with you all. So have a wonderful day, and I hope you are inspired to make lots of great things for the summer months ahead. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you next time.